Ladies and gentlemen, this is really interesting. And it's the beginning of the end. Well, Biden's campaign already hit the iceberg. I told you in 2017 he would not be, there's no viable candidate the Democrats have other than Hillary Clinton. I said in my Huffington Post article, Hillary Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. Please share that. I'll put that on the top of the pinned comment, and then below that is Bizarro World Goodman's 6th segment. So it's a comedy channel, satire. I am the angry person in your life that has utter contempt for Trump, and I'm in the wig, mustache, everything. It's fantastic. I'm yelling at the top of my lungs, screeching, similar to how Democrats voiced their lofty values and value system and ethical code and moral compass when they were trying to get Kavanaugh to step down. Notice how not only are they not getting Joe Biden to step down, despite overwhelmingly greater evidence, they have redefined the word evidence to people hearing the allegation. So there's a great article in the Washington Times. I'll read you this. Joe Biden reverses view about releasing Senate records. Gee, I wonder why. Also, subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. I have a great segment up on there. And Bizarro World Goodman, my comedy and satire channel. So much for something like Democrats who spent the past 4 years challenging, suing, and even eventually impeaching President Trump over his refusal to release documents are about to march into the 2020 presidential campaign with a candidate who said Friday that he is okay with shielding his own records. Former Vice President, this is one of the many reasons Hillary Clinton will be nominee, and one of the many reasons I will have made the biggest political call of all time. In 2017, I wrote about this, and I obsessed over this for, going on 4 years. Former Vice President Joseph R. Biden says he will not heed calls to have the University of Delaware release his Senate papers, which he donated years ago. He said the speeches, position papers, and documents from conversation with world leaders amassed over a quarter century on Capitol Hill could dent his chances of winning the White House, and he doesn't want them public. They could be really taken out of context, Mr. Biden told MSNBC on Friday. Taken out of context. Where is the focus on context and nuance when there's anything to do with Trump? So you had Democrats going after Trump because of a hot mic. This is part of their mythology around the Orange Julius Caesar. They have obsessed over Trump's personality. They retweet every negative story about Trump. The White House press corps exists only to try to find some kind of gotcha question to get Trump to either trip over his words or say something so they could edit out context and nuance and meaning and intent. Their only goal is to shape a narrative that suits them politically. That's it. They don't care about truth. If they cared about truth, if they had an actual value system, they would treat Biden the way they treated Kavanaugh and Trump, but they don't. If it's Bill Clinton, Biden, they have a hands-off approach, and they say, "Gosh, this is politics, and we have to win, so we'll put all our outrage and fabricated, phony." Screeching and yelling, and we'll put that aside, and we'll forget how we treated Kavanaugh with infinitely less evidence. They've defined evidence as, well, someone makes an allegation, someone else heard the allegation at that time, and that's it. Well, if that's the case, Larry King Live, the call in 1993, this is Tara Reid's mother who passed away. So how do they explain this? With Kavanaugh, there was no place, no time. There was actually no location. There was actually no time. There was no location, not even really a date. It was some time in the 80s. No location at all. And there was no Larry King Live call-in. In addition to that, well, let's just read this. There were no records that could have corroborated this. And the assault was far worse. You're talking a really nasty, disgusting, horrific assault. But Biden said it never happened. So instead of believe women, it's believe Biden. They should have just said, believe Biden during the Kavanaugh hearings. Could you imagine what would have taken place there? Mr. Trump, Mr. Biden's opponent in November. No, it's not going to be Mr. Trump's opponent. Hillary Clinton's going to be Mr. Trump's opponent. Has faced allegations of misdeeds and has now admitted to knowing about hush payments to silence 2 women who might have gone public with claims. So Mr. Trump has also rebuffed demands to release his tax returns. Hush payments. This is okay. It's not a hush payment. It was an actual business transaction. We can go on forever about that. But however you want to call it, hush payment. Mr. Trump has also rebuffed demands to release his tax returns. For what reason? Where is they impeached him on 2 counts that are not legal statutes. They said he obstructed justice. They said he committed crimes, the criminal presence, he's corrupt. Well, where are the crimes? Where's the corruption? Where are the legal statutes that he broke? U.S. Code 793F with Clinton. We can go on forever. Obvious legal statute. I can't believe I forgot. There's an actual criminal complaint that Tara Reade filed. That's what I was thinking of. I was trying to find out. Tara Reade filed a criminal complaint. Kavanaugh and Trump's accusers have not. As the New York Times stated, if you file a criminal complaint, you can go to prison. So that's where they're at. And there's an active D.C. police investigation. And that's in addition to Burisma and every failed foreign policy call from Joe Biden. Has he had a foreign policy success? He's voted for every failed military intervention. And he presided over the destruction of a country, Libya, and the failed NATO intervention during President Obama's administration. So they're in their own world. But here, quote, Biden's denying Stonewall position guts his core message that he's serious battle tested in an open book. Mr. Biden donated more than 1,850 boxes of records to the University of Delaware in 2012 when he was vice president. The records cover Mr. Biden's Senate career from 1973 to 2009. For those looking to delve into Mr. Biden's Senate years, the university tells them to contact the National Archives. Look at the published proceedings of Congress or go to C-SPAN. Fear of what could be lurking in old documents is not unwarranted. Mr. Biden has had to fend off complaints about his Senate friendships with segregationist lawmakers. So if it's not this, it's don't you love this? You had pundits saying, "Well, that there's one pundit that's friends with conservatives." But now those same pundits are going to vote for Biden or going to defend Democrats when they find out that Biden and Clinton, well, Hillary, yeah, but definitely Biden, because he was in the Senate longer than Clinton, much longer, was very close to segregationists. Hillary Clinton, the 2016 Democrat, spent much of the campaign dealing with revelations of her once secret emails. It was about servers, but okay, so here you go. Stop the double standard. You want to release, okay, Mr. Velvo served as administration of Mr. Biden. You want him to release documents that have nothing to do with Tara Reade, but you guys aren't demanding the same of Donald Trump with his tax returns? Trump hasn't been accused of a crime with his tax returns. They create this nonsense. So, he says the National Archives has the information. It's not the 1,850 boxes of information of videotapes. But if you look, so Biden calls on he calls on National Archives, but the University of Delaware gives the National Archives all the information that it has. So what if the National Archives don't have if they don't have information pertaining to Tara Reade's allegations. Where do you think it's held? At the University of Delaware. But he's just stalling. This is Politico. Search for Tara Reade complaint threatens to backfire on Biden. So the former VP's refusal to open his archived Senate records could cause serious headaches in his campaign. This is just one of many things. Clinton's going to be nominee, but you can tell he doesn't want information, not just about Tara Reade, but about a whole lot of things. Okay, then you have a Daily Beast article in 2014 talking about how horrendous Joe Biden is, including issues with Burisma. But that's a whole other story. In his first televised interview with, but the National Archives said those records are actually held by the Senate. Yet Senate rules governing the preservation of documents suggested they're held by the General Services Administration, which said the documents are located at the National Archives. So the National Archives said that his information is held by the Senate. The Senate says his information is held by the National Archives. If Biden hoped he was clearing a key evidentiary question Friday related, he called his identification of any record of the complaint she alleges she filed. There is a criminal investigation now in Washington, D.C. I forgot that in the beginning of this segment. So there's a criminal investigation now by D.C. police. Trump and Kavanaugh never had that. Furthermore, Trump has never been accused. The Democrats want his tax returns for what reason? Why don't you look at Pelosi or Feinstein's tax returns? Feinstein is accused of insider trading. So and she had an actual spy for years and years that the FBI politely informed her about. So look at her. But Trump, they want his tax returns. Why? We already know he didn't work with Russia. He's not even accused of a criminal act. Everything and then they're like, well, it's just like Clinton's emails. No, Clinton had top secret intelligence on servers outside of the United States government to hide her communication. So now what? They're playing politics. Look, a big part of this is people will believe what they want to believe for their political allegiances, just to further their political ambitions or their political side. The difference between the average Trump supporter is if President Trump got us into a NATO intervention, the majority of Trump supporters wouldn't support him. That's the difference. If Biden does infinitely worse than what was accused of Kavanaugh, most Democrats would support him. So the most transparent thing Joe Biden did this morning is to admit that he is hiding documents so they can't be used against him. Okay, so he's calling on the National Archives, but the National Archives says the information's with the Senate. But then the National Archives gets its information about Biden from the University of Delaware. So it's all over the place. The bottom line is there's a Larry King live call-in in 1993. How do you make that up? So in terms of corroboration, because a lot of, with Kavanaugh's accuser, a lot of people were like, oh yeah, I don't remember that. I'm not going to go under oath with that. This is a 1993 call-in. You cannot make it up. You cannot, you can't fabricate. You can't go back in time and fabricate this story. Her story is already in the news. I mean, already for posterity in that Larry King live call-in. Now, and there's a criminal investigation in D.C. His campaign is done. There was just an article in the New York Times. It's time to focus on Plan B Democrats, hinting that they need Hillary Clinton. I did a segment on that. Everything is taking place exactly the way I said it would. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is below, and I'll tell you, your support is greatly appreciated because I am the only YouTube channel. And this channel, H.A. Goodman's other channel, and then Bizarre World Goodman is just fun. That's like a comedy satire channel. There are 33 million YouTube channels, okay? I'm the only channel on all of YouTube who actually wrote an article in 2017 predicting exactly what was going to take place. Now, I'm not Nostradamus, but in 2015, NPR quoted me. NPR quoted me saying that Clinton would lose swing states and she was unelectable. And that in that paragraph, the article's below, in that paragraph, you have 538 saying that Trump wouldn't be GOP nominee. So this is the second election I've predicted, but I'm not right about everything, but I have the pulse of what's going on, and I'm a lot more accurate than, I'm a Trump supporter, but I come from the left. I'm a lot more accurate than almost every pundit on the left. Most of them were pumping the absurd notion that Trump withheld military assistance because he was afraid of Biden. Are you kidding me? Biden wouldn't even win the popular vote. They're not going to roll with Biden on the centennial of the 19th Amendment when he won't even release his Senate records. And he has an active criminal investigation for assaulting a woman. He had a role to play, just like Bill de Blasio, just like Eric Swalwell. Did you think Eric Swalwell was going to be president? Did you think Michael Bloomberg was going to be president? Well, he didn't either, but he still put $1.2 billion in there in 3 months. In 3.5 months, the guy put $1.2 billion because Democrats don't have, the DNC can't raise money. Most people despise the Democratic Party. Nobody's giving to the DNC. People are giving to the RNC. People are giving to Trump's campaign. Now, who do you think's giving to Biden's campaign? He's toast. He's not going to raise money with this, with this tragedy. Look, you're talking about the former vice president. He's not a Democratic icon. He's been in politics for decades. We're now finding out that he's basically a loser. Doesn't matter if he was vice president. A lot of vice presidents who've been 4 years, 8 years, doesn't make them. He's basically a loser who, just like most Democrats, especially the Clintons, made a lot of money, or people around him utilized connections because he was the vice president. Enter Hunter with Burisma. The issue with Biden and all Democrats is that there's zero suspicion hovering around them. Now, however, there is suspicion. He can't get out of this because his name is not Bill Clinton. He's done. Another scandal, and it'll get a lot closer to Clinton becoming nominee. The only possible candidate they have is Hillary Clinton. She's the only person who could possibly defeat Trump. And I give her a 30% chance of defeating Trump. Now, they didn't set up and frame Trump with a dossier purchased by Clinton to elevate Biden into the White House. It's not happening. The whole thing's a charade and it's just a political machine. And I'm the only person out of 33 million YouTube channels to tell you this. Give me your thoughts below. You want to support my voice long term, my Patreon link is below in the pinned comment and description. Share this segment. Subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. We're almost at 15,000 subs there. And Bizarro World Goodman, I'll have a segment below. The segments are below, but in the pinned comment. But I'll have one up later this evening. And please, 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 if you're on social media, ladies and gentlemen, to my 18-minute crowd, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, my Huffington Post article is below. Go ahead, share it, get that article viral, okay? It's written in 2017. It's going to tell you everything that's been taking place and that will take place. Hillary Clinton will be the nominee. She will lose to Trump, and I called it in 2017 when the entire planet thought something differently. Give me your thoughts.